Hello, everyone. It's Blake Butler, Executive Director of the North Carolina Industrial Hemp Association, soon to be the Southeast Hemp Association. And we're back with another Zoom interview with one of our members. And in this case, he's up there in Danville, Virginia. We have Mark Gignac, the Executive Director of the Institute up there. Welcome, Mark, to our little Zoom interview series.
I'm pleased to be with you. We obviously share much passion for the hemp crop and all things related, so I'm delighted to be talking with you.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. And as you know, I've spent a lot of time up at the Institute. You've just got a great staff, a great facility up there. But let's talk about the Institute. How did it start? What areas do you guys cover? And just give us a little background.
Okay, I'll give you a quick background. The Institute, we're actually in the facility for 16 years. What started out as a single building, we just opened our fourth building on the main campus in two greenhouses. And in fact, we have another building, a 50,000 square foot facility that we built across the street that the Commonwealth has funded. But in the main building, we've been here for 16 years, and we came out of the ground to just help with the transformation of our community. Like many communities in the South and Southeast, and even across the country, we were particularly decimated by textiles going offshore. We had one company, Dan River Mills, that when I moved here in the 70s, had somewhere around 15,000 employees, and it doesn't exist today.
That's a famous textile company too. I mean,
that's right. They were very
well
famous. Many people probably had bed sheets. Many men's shirts were made out of their fabrics, and so they were a powerhouse in the day. And then, of course, the other thing that's changed is tobacco. Danville has always been known as the tobacco capital of the world. We didn't roll cigarettes in this community, but more tobacco was auctioned and sold on our warehouse in our warehouses than anywhere in the world. And of course, we're surrounded by many leaf, rollers from Richmond and Winston-Salem and things like that. And tobacco is still the best tobacco in the world, is still grown in this part of Virginia and North Carolina, but it's changed and it's impacted farmers. The little farmers were essentially pushed out. So the Institute was really the business leaders at the time saying, hey, we need to reinvent ourselves. So this facility came out of the ground. I know we're here today to talk about hemp, but we actually have 5 divisions. One is advanced learning. We do not issue degrees, but we do lots of kind of learning opportunities, primarily for K through 12. We have an advanced manufacturing division. We have some very unique skills in high-end manufacturing that has actually landed businesses to relocate here from across the globe. That's been a very good division for us. Of course, we have our applied research, which has been covers lots of things from material science, of course, agriculture, and others. And that began, long before our involvement in hemp, but because our labs were set up as biology labs with Virginia Tech 16 years ago, it really provided us the tools. We have gotten very involved in hemp. Kind of been a natural progression without a lot of new investment. And then, of course, we have the conference center here, which allows us to put on things like the Industrial Hemp Summit that you and I are both involved in, and in many other activities. In fact, I just saw the data from last year, and our little organization hosted 34,000 people in our conference services.
Wow.
Last year, which if you're in a large city, that probably doesn't sound like much, but a town the size of Danville, it's a pretty big deal. And then finally, we do employ a full-time economic development director. While we work with the regional economic developers, it's such an important part of our work that we do have a full-time director to either work with the region or to work with companies that are looking to locate.
So, Mark, when I first met you and came up to the Institute, you had all sorts of interesting technology set up in your labs that dealt with those tobacco plants, looking at the growth, the leaves. One of them I always have just been fascinated with is the grow table that you created. And so let's just take a specific technology like that, or what you guys created there, because I know we've talked that other universities and other companies came to see what you guys had created to really be able to measure that leaf growth by the pixel. That's correct, right?
Correct. We can, in the case of if it were floating tobacco trays, we can actually on one table, we call them smart tables, can put 700 tobacco plants on a table. Obviously, if you're looking at larger plants like a hemp plant, you're limited in the number of plants depending on the size. But we are able to very accurately capture the images. And of course, we have custom wrote software so we can actually record the growth. In the old days, our director of research always says, scientists went out to the field and had a notepad and a 6-inch pocket ruler that would measure growth, whether it was in the greenhouse or out in the field. And of course, now we can do it, with the technology and cameras and infrared cameras, we can actually record the growth and put a number to the growth. So it's not, kind of old-fashioned data. It's very precise. And we also can do the same thing with movement. Movement is important because plants do move more when they're healthy. They're feeling sick. You've heard Scott say they're kind of like us. They want to lay around on the couch. Mm-hmm. And so we can actually put numbers to the movement of a plant using, time lapse, by shooting a plant for days, weeks, or whatever it may be, and compile that data. And of course, today, there's the technology exists to do that. It didn't exist 20 years ago.
And where does that data go, Mark? What is that data used for as you look at different genetic strains?
Well, it depends. In the case of tobacco, a lot of our work went to Virginia Tech. They have an expert on their staff at one of their research centers that is a tobacco expert for the region. And so in some cases, our work is supporting another university. And by the way, as you're aware, while we are located here in Danville, which is literally right on the border, we work with universities throughout the region and the country where appropriate. And so we have dealings with NC State, for example, and others. We can't ignore some of the opportunities that exist to our south. I can't spend Commonwealth of Virginia money in North Carolina. But so certainly one avenue, if we work with university experts, we do work with industries, companies, industry companies that come to us and have maybe a large, in the case of tobacco, large tobacco producer that needs help working on, say, a disease or like a black shank disease or something, that come to us and engage us to do projects. And then, of course, as you're aware, we're very proud of the fact that we even work with individual growers. Mm-hmm. Growers are where it starts, right? To me, they're the original entrepreneurs. And so we have projects that we have done in some cases, maybe relatively small research projects where a grower says, hey, I got this idea. I don't have a lot of money. And if we like the idea and think there's value, we will take it on. So we really cover from universities to industry down to individual growers.
And talking about growers, you've really expanded on your testing.
Correct.
And growers to get some real, just drill down results, as I call it. And we all need that as we, together, we want all those COAs to always be so accurate, even locked in, as I say, with blockchain. So every product that comes out, we know is safe for consumption. So let's talk about some of your testing capabilities and what kind of business you guys are doing there.
Okay, well, our lab has been a big deal. And by the way, our analytical chemistry lab is not new in the last few years with hemp. We've had a chemistry lab for about a dozen years. Most of it was agricultural based, but again, we can test polymers and all kinds of other things. But because of much of our research work in the ag arena, certainly a good part of our work was around with plants. So as we began, watching what was happening across the country with hemp, and as you've heard me say, I've been following hemp before I ever had this position. I just, as an interested person, kind of started seeing a lot of news, started kind of investing some time to understand what was happening. And so when this, we started doing work with, again, farmers or companies when Virginia was in what I'll call our research phase. And then as we moved into last year, where it was the first, federally legal growing season, we essentially pivoted our lab. Fortunately, we had much of the equipment needed. In an operation like ours, we're fortunate that because of different funding sources and grants, we really have been able to secure the best equipment available. And as we pivoted into the hemp area, there were some new things that we had to add, for instance, test heavy metals or the pesticides or some of those things. So we have a fully uh, uh, equipped lab, and I think more important than lab is the
Are
staff.
you a DEA certified lab, Mark? I know that the USDA has not required that till the end of the year, but are you going to be a DEA certified lab?
We are expecting a letter within days. We've gone through the process. There were a handful of in this, you've been to the facility. We're a pretty secure facility in terms of cameras and locks and swipe card access, but there were a number of things they wanted us to enhance. The last of those is completed, and we were told that they're processing for approval even before we wrap those up, because they knew they asked us to do things, we did immediately. So that's just really that's will be wrapped up very shortly. We also of course are wrapping up our ISO certification, which isn't required by the USDA, but we did that. We actually were ISO certified and let it lapse because much of our work became internal research, but that's will be reinstated shortly. We are one of the early the Board of Pharmacy in Virginia just started approving labs. I believe it was in June, and we were one of the first, certainly one of the first handful of labs that is DEA certified. And we're also looking at some FDA things. Our goal is to serve this industry, again, from the farmer through the process, through finished products to whatever. And so our eyes are wide open about what we need to be able to offer the complete package of services. And of course, as you know, and so last year, we tested for about 160 growers. We've been essentially in one season from, a handful to 160 growers. We essentially ran our lab 7 days a week, nonstop. In the off season, we have increased our capacity to prepare for this current year, where we tripled our capacity. We have another chemist trained. We actually bought another LC, which is the third LC that we have on the premises. And we also have a GC, ICPMS for heavy metals. The newest LC was really designed to handle basic tests. We could quickly move through and test. Our maximum turnaround on testing is 3 days. And so we've really positioned ourselves to move quickly.
And I've seen you grow in this 3-year period too, since we started doing the Industrial Hemp Summit. And then, as you said, you grew your testing capabilities as related to hemp, and were able to apply some of those technologies and know-how. And you got a great group of folks up there too that we love working with. So if someone wants to get in touch with the Institute, reach out to you guys, whether it's a grower or someone else, what's the best way to do that?
Well, simply they could go to ialr.org, or they could email me, mark@ialr.org.
Well, that's perfect. And what I'll do, Mark, is I'll put that in the comments here of the video so folks can see it. And thank you for not only what you're doing up there at the Institute, but your support of our association, your friendship. And, I think just while you were talking, all these things that were swirling around my head is I just see us all getting on the same page to self-graduate to that ISO, to that GMP, to that level where we can put that stamp on everything we do and say, we know the process from A to Z and it is safe.
Completely agree. And we think the Institute, certainly because of our funding and resources, can certainly add professionalism to all aspects of the industry. And by the way, you mentioned the North Carolina Association. Of course, we're a member and a huge fan. While I'm located in Virginia, I have watched, even before we joined, by meeting you and Marty Clemens and meeting others throughout Carolina. You guys are very proactive in helping the industry and the growers, most importantly. And so, you know, it was important for us to be a part of your organization because I think you're really the model for what all states should be following.
Oh,
We're
well,
proud to be
thank you,
affiliated.
Mark. Well, as you know, this transition we're going through, and it's a we movement, as we call it, as we all come together and just if we can all stay in our lane. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes too. We can definitely get it done. So, but thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you soon as we bring another industrial hemp summit back in some way, shape, or form. All right.
That's right. Well, thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon, Mark.
Okay, bye.